Hello, beautiful souls. How are you today? The day of this recording is September 11, 2022. I am Celeste Angela Albritton, recording from Custom Crystal Creations here in Dobbs Ferry. And I'm so excited to introduce you to my new friend and associate and coach, Herman Petrick. He is located at the moment in the Southwest, the beautiful Southwest. And I met him through a coach priestess friend of mine, Dawn Del Vecchio. She's got a beautiful community going on Mighty Networks called The Return of the Priestess. And I was reaching out to her for some advice a couple years ago, I guess, and I guess a year and a half ago. And she said, "Oh, you need Herman." So she gave me his number, and I've been his client ever since. And I'm so excited to introduce him to all of you and to this community. So welcome, Herman. Thank you so much for taking time to do this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be connected with like-minded people.
Yes, it's once you just decide to seek out your tribe, it's amazing how easy it can be to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your journey. How did you start with this? What was your childhood like? Were you raised to believe in these sorts of things, or did you just kind of learn about it on your own?
Yeah, so I had a really great childhood. I grew up in the Northwest, Portland, Oregon. I have three sisters. We're all about a year apart. Very strong Christian household. So, we went to church every Sunday and youth groups and all of that stuff. And when I became an adult, I left the area and I really didn't continue going to church. I worked in the professional business world, different jobs here and there, but I found myself, I had two daughters and I was married for 23 years and I moved to New Zealand. And that's when things really started to change for me. When I moved to New Zealand, I ended up, after 23 years of marriage, ended up separating and eventually getting divorced. And I found time for myself for the very first time ever in my life because I was married at a very young age, 19. And when I had that quiet time to myself, things just started to come together for me from a spiritual standpoint. I really started getting interested in the energies of the body, the energies around us. And that kind of led me to the energy work that I'm doing now. So I didn't go into any type of formal training for anything. It was almost like everything was being downloaded to me. And it started with a house. My now wife, when I met her, we were dating and she was living in this house that had some pretty nasty energies in it. And I didn't know much about the energies at that time, but the first time I stayed over there, she had some problems in the middle of the night, and I asked her what was going on, and she said there's just these dark faces. They feel like they're holding me down and I don't know what to do. And she was going through a church at the time in New Zealand that was like a non-denominational church. And in fact, the house was being rented through that church. And she went to the church and they told her there was, some pretty dark energies that they tried to get rid of, which they couldn't. And she kind of told me the story and it just seemed really odd to me. But at that point, it just came upon me to tell these energies to leave. And I did. And I didn't tell anyone about it. And then a few weeks later, I reached out and asked how her house was. And she said, "Oh, it's great. There's no issues. I don't know what happened. They're just all gone." And I was like, So I told her what I did and she was just amazed. And so then I thought there's really something to clearing these energies. And so I just really started trying to reflect internally to see what I can do and how I can do it. And I started talking to a few friends about it. And there was a family that had a 5-year-old boy that was having nightmares since he was 2 years old. And they heard about me through some friends. And so they asked me about it. And I said, yeah, I can clear the energy for him in the house and that should help. And when I did that, it was almost instant. The boy stopped having nightmares and things just started being better in their house. And then they started telling their friends. And I had all these parents calling me with kids with sleeping issues. And I started just helping all of these little ones And I thought, I should put together a website. And I put together a website, and that was about 10 years ago. And I've traveled around a bit doing little events and stuff. And in fact, I met Dawn Del Vecchio. I did a 90-minute lecture in Sedona at a big yoga festival there. And I think she was in the crowd and chatted with me afterwards. That's kind of how we connected, which started it all, which connected us. But it just kind of happened really organically for me. And as the years went on, I just kept connecting to my higher self, and just things just started to fold right out in front of me how they need to. And here I am today, working with people from all over the world. I have really, I target 5 or 6 marketplaces, the UK being one, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and then here in the US. So that's kind of my marketplace right now. And people go to my website and reach out to me, and I clear their energies and then help them connect to their true self. Because the work that I do, it's about clearing the energies and then helping the people connect to their true self, because most of the people are walking around just a little bit disconnected, and their connection gets distorted by these outside energies that I call energetic parasites that just keep them disconnected. And that's really, in a very quick nutshell, the basics of what I do.
I will share my personal story very briefly to give perspective for our audience. I have never been, diagnosed with clinical depression, like in a serious way. I've gone through hard times. I've struggled through things, but in terms of like clinical mental health issues, I've never had that diagnosis. So in 2020 I was really struggling with the COVID thing, and I was frustrated because I have a master's degree in public health. I'm trained in epidemic management, and I'm just looking around going, nobody knows what they're doing here. Like, this is how to do it wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And then just a few miles from the epicenter in New Rochelle, New York, with the man who was the super spreader, he was like case number 1 in New York. Wasn't his fault. He went to the doctor. They didn't have proper testing for him, and so he was spreading COVID all over the place. And then they finally brought in the National Guard into New Rochelle. So that was just a few miles from where I was living. So I was really, really experiencing the fear, the anxiety, the darkness, the death, hearing sirens all day long, and I was just curled up in a ball for a while. And that was March 2020. Okay. So I started getting these ideations in the summer of 2020, and I would just push them away. I said, that's not my thought. That's, because the most important question I've learned to ask is this mine? Mm-hmm. Is this thought mine? Is this feeling mine? Because I've learned I'm an empath and I absorb stuff from other people. So I was trying to do clearings on my own. But I had this really persistent thought, like, you can leave the planet anytime you want. And, it's your choice. That's your sovereignty, right? Kind of twisted argument. And so the fall came. Well, I got a cat in March. And so I thought, no, I can't leave the planet because I've got this little creature who trusts me, and I'm his forever human. I'm giving a forever home. So no, I'm not going to kill myself because now I have a cat. But the voice kept coming, and then the holidays were coming. And so the voice was like, go back to California, hang out with your family, see your parents one more time, enjoy one more Christmas, one more New Year's, So I did that, and I came back to New York in early March. And then this was March 2021 now. And then it was, no, at least have one more birthday. March 16 is my birthday. So at least have one more birthday, make it a good one, invite friends, have a good time. And then after that, just find someone to take care of your cat, and you're free. And that was when I reached out to Dawn, because I was like, oh, this is, this is a really sinister persistent voice that I'd been hearing for over 6 months by that point. So that's
Mhm.
when I reached out to you. And I don't know if you remember what you were saying, but I also did another clearing with another priestess friend of mine in about 10 days time. I reached out to her. I'd been coaching with her for 8 months or so by that point, and she just got special training on dark energy clearing. And so I reached out to everything that I could. But I remember in the 15-minute consultation that I had with you, you talked about the fallen angel. So you mind describing that? Because what is a fallen angel? What is their purpose? And what do we need to know about them?
Yeah, so a fallen angel, and people may have read this in the Bible or other stories, but I like to call it a fallen angel energy. So it's an energy of these fallen angels, and what they do, they're essentially they're a dark energy that's earthbound, so they're stuck. And what they do is they always attach themselves to the person right at birth. So it's like when you're born, this energy, it attaches itself to you, and it does everything in its power to keep you disconnected from who you truly are. But the interesting thing is they only attach to specific types of people. So it's not everyone picks up these energies at birth. It's the specific type of people. It's the very sensitive people, the healers of the world, the humanitarians of the world, the people that are here to be the helpers, right? I call it the three H's: the healers, the humanitarians, and the helpers. People that are here to just make an impact. So this energy, what it does is it attaches at birth for a couple different reasons. The first reason being, by doing so, they can simply remain hidden. Most people don't recognize the energy or even know that it exists. It's very subtle, so it can just fly right under the radar. Now so they attach at birth. No one knows they exist. They're there. They're embedded from day one. You come into this world and you have your existence you're living your life as a human, and you have this energy that's attached to you, and you're just oblivious to it. Well, the main reason that it attaches is to try to keep you disconnected from who you truly are. And how it does this is the very interesting fact, is it slowly wears you down energetically. So it's like you have this constant internal battle happening that's just slowly wearing you down. Now, the kicker is the more worn down you are energetically, the more susceptible you are to picking up other energies that are just in the environment. And this starts to happen right around early adolescence. And how it works is when these energies, they start attaching themselves, they have their own thoughts and they have their own emotions. Now, if you really think about it, this is where the disconnection starts to happen, because we're usually guided by our thoughts and our emotions. Here you are, early adolescence, you start owning all of those thoughts and emotions as your own, and it starts guiding you down this path, and it's taking you in the wrong direction. And it does this over and over and over and over, and that's creating this energetic flow. So then all of a sudden, everything in your life is flowing in this wrong direction, and everyone's telling you, "I'll just go with the flow, go with the flow." Well, you're flowing in the wrong direction. Now, that's kind of how the disconnection starts to happen. Now, as you get wiser, you're like, no, 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 I need to go this way. Now you're going against the flow. So nothing comes as easy as it should. It's like you're just constantly running into roadblocks. But really, the kicker is when you're right on that edge or that cusp of having a breakthrough, that's when things will just implode on themselves, creating that chaos and that distractions that's all the while keeping you disconnected from who you truly are. And over the years, I've seen people that are really meant to be the real powerful healers and make a massive difference here become very sick and become bedridden right when they're on the cusp of having that breakthrough. They have a health issue that just knocks them right out. And that's the sabotage that's happening from it. All started with the root issue, that fallen angel energy, but it's exacerbated by these other energies that are implanting into your thoughts and your emotions. And there's something that you said earlier that I always try to guide people on, is always question your thoughts and your emotions, because by doing that, you're separating yourself from them. Because a lot of times we get manipulated in our head. And so what we try to do is, if we can disconnect, and reconnect to our true self, our heart self. When we're connected to our heart, we can't be manipulated. But the problem is most of the population is operating from their headspace or their ego, whatever you want to call it. And that's where the manipulation starts to happen. So if we can question, where is this thought coming from? It's not me. And it's easy to say that, but like what you were going through, just the repetitive thoughts, it just keeps coming, and you're questioning, it still keep coming. Now imagine your early adolescence and you're having those thoughts, and you think about, the COVID has been just been awful for the last 2.5, 3 years, where people are really struggling with that anxiety, which leads to the depression. But those thoughts that just keep coming and coming and coming, and we're seeing suicide rates for the early adolescents skyrocketing because they can't stop these thoughts. And then here's another example, and not to knock Western medicine, but
go ahead, knock Western medicine, please.
You have this
it doesn't welcome critique, put it that way.
Yeah, well, what happens is, let's say you have a 12-year-old daughter, for an example, that's really got some crazy anxiety, and she's hearing these voices, and you take her to your doctor. Oh yeah, she's got, anxiety, all that. Here's some pills. Now, what happens with these pills is we have to think of ourselves as an energy. So we're this energy, and when we're taking a medication for whatever reason, it's dumbing down our energy. When our energy is dumbed down, that's when we are more susceptible. It's like from the beginning, when we're being worn down, our energy is worn down. Well, you throw drugs on top of that, it's going to dumb you down even more. And so then you become this magnet for picking up other energetic parasites. Now, the medication might work for a little bit, but the 12-year-old girl feels like a shell of a person, and then slowly the thoughts start to creep back in, so they go back to the doctor. It's not working. Oh, let's up your dose, or let's change your prescription. And what you're going to see is if you look at the mental institutions, the psychiatric hospitals, they're full of the healers of our world. Now, all of our healers, if you think about it, they're in the mental institution. They're not out doing what their life purpose is, which is to change humanity, heal humanity. So our healers, the really powerful ones, are locked up in these psychiatric hospitals because they were having these thoughts and these emotions as early adolescents, and the drugs start flowing. And a lot of people get past that and make it, but it's like, it's just constant battle. And so the fallen angel energy, to me, is one of the most sinister energies, because it's so subtle and it's so hidden. It just, people don't know what it is, and no one talks about it. And if you Google the information, there's no information out there. I mean, yeah, there'll be little tidbits here and there, but there's just not the information on it. And that's what's destroying our humanity, or the consciousness of our world is just, it's being manipulated by these energies. And it's keeping everyone in their headspace. And when you're in your headspace, that's where the thoughts and the emotions come. So the key to the work that I do, I'm not this amazing coach or this or that. I keep everything simple. So what I do is I clear the energy from the person, and then I do a little healing session. It's like hitting the reset button. Okay, let's clear the energy, hit the reset button. It's about connecting the person to their true authentic self. And when you're connected, you don't need any information from an outside source. Everything you need is going to come from within, but you have to be connected. And so if I can clear people, hit the reset button, and get them reconnected, where they go is 100% up to them, and how they're changing the world or how they're making that impact in the world is 100% on them. And so that's kind of the philosophy that I have with my work. People come to me, clear the energy, hit the reset, help them connect, then they're off and running. That's the way that I view the work that I do. I try to keep it as simple as possible, but it's really, I can't stress enough, it's about connecting you to your true self, because we're all connected, right?